Sometimes it is hard for me to get cameras for a review, but I managed to get Sony A9, the latest flagship model. Sadly, local Sony office didn't have a single lens available at this moment, so I was in a situation take it as is or wait a couple of weeks or even more. So I took the camera. Luckily they had one of these around. This is Metabones adapter for Canon lenses, and Canon lenses are something I have plenty of. This is primarily sports camera. It has previously unheard of 20 frames per second burst in RAW format, and it is supposed to have very good autofocus tracking. Sadly, these full autofocus capabilities are available with native lenses only, not with adapted lenses like I have it now. I am telling you this because this is not then a full review, but I will test this camera from a standpoint of somebody who is in Canon system and is thinking about getting just the body and using it with already available Canon lenses. Does it make sense? Is it worth it? That's what I will find out. I will split this review into two parts. First, I will talk about everything I don't like about this camera, and then about everything that is really good, and there's actually a lot of stuff that is good about this camera. So let's begin. Space between the grip and lens is actually very tight. Do you see how my middle finger rubs against the lens, or in this case it is Metabones adapter? This damn thing even has notches, so it's really irritating. It is not that tight when just holding it, there is a few millimeters of space, but every time I pick or leave the camera my finger rubs against it. Try doing that all day and you will have your skin peeled soon. And I don't even have large fingers. My second issue with A9 handling is the position of the front dial. You see it is placed way too far from the shutter button and absolutely way too close to my middle finger. So it's actually almost impossible to get a grip on it. I need to reposition my hand completely like this all the way down so I can use it, then put it back up for shutter, and then once again I cannot grab onto it. So that's for me a big problem. What Sony should have done, in my opinion, is to reposition this dial all the way to the top, put it in vertical position when Custom 1 and Custom 2 buttons are. That would be much easier to use. A9 doesn't handle good with large and heavy lenses. In my experience, anything over approximately half a kilo will be too much. A9 will feel front heavy and the grip is way too small for combinations such as this one. Two of my fingers are on the grip, but the small finger has nothing to grab onto. Also, half of my palm is in the air, and that leads to hand fatigue in very short period of time. Yes, you can buy the grip, which solves the issue completely, but then you have a big camera and big lens and the size advantage of mirrorless concept is gone. There is a whole bunch of features that exclude one another. For example, when in burst mode, RAW is only 12-bit, and when in electronic shutter mode, maximum ISO is 25,600. Mechanical shutter offers native ISO 51,200 and up to 200,000 with extension. When the buffer is clearing, some camera functions won't be available. You can access quick menu and functions assigned to direct controls, but main menu will not work. Also, picking will not work until you switch the lens in manual focus mode or the focus dial is in pure manual focus. There are surely even more of these limitations that I haven't noticed in my brief time with this camera, so don't be surprised when they pop up. Hypothetical situation from the intro. You are in Canon system like me and you want to get this camera without spending a fortune for Sony glass. How does it focus with Metabones? Well, the answer will not make you happy. It works, but that's that. As long as you have decent light and focus in the center of the frame, it will be just fine. But if you move focus point toward the corner or use it in low light, there will be problems. Tracking also works, but is slow, hunts and is nowhere near as good as with native lenses. Forget it. If you need good focus tracking, native lenses are a must-have for the A9. It appears sensor stabilization does not work with Canon lenses that are stabilized, even if you switch off in-lens stabilization. So basically that nice 5-axis sensor stabilization is only for some of the native Sony lenses. Touch LCD works for focus points and to move zoomed in image across the screen. For everything else it doesn't respond. Browsing images in playback doesn't work. Multi-touch also doesn't work. Main menu doesn't work. Quick menu doesn't work. Why? Where's the problem here? What is the meaning of life? Here in Europe Alpha 9 costs a whopping 5,500 euros, what is around 6,500 US dollars. Okay, you can probably find it a few hundred cheaper somewhere, but this is a general price range where this camera sits right now. At around 4,500 US dollars it is cheaper in the United States due to lower taxes, but even that is really expensive. When used with native lenses it is probably worth it, but with Metabons and Canon optics like I did, no way. A few months after Alpha 9 introduction, Sony released Alpha 7R Mark III, which has much of the Alpha 9 features while costing less. It even has a better sensor with more resolution, better dynamic range and probably even better high ISO. You see, this is a major problem with Sony. They make a camera, but a year later make another one with even better features and resolved problems from first generation. To me that looks like they are showing a middle finger to the first generation buyers. Okay, that's about it from the stuff I don't like. This review only gets more positive from now. One of the best upgrades on this camera is the new battery. It has twice the capacity of the previous model of the battery that is used in Alpha 7 series, and from my experience I can tell you can really notice the difference. This battery will last at least 600 or 700 shots. If you're gonna shoot in burst mode all the time, you will probably go well into several thousands of shots from a single charge. So in this regard, this camera is definitely comparable with DSLR cameras, and the battery is not a limiting factor for this camera anymore. 20 FPS silent burst mode is awesome. Just look at the top left corner how fast memory card space falls. In compressed RAW this camera can capture around 250 shots. JPEG will work even longer, up to around 350 shots. That should be plenty for anyone. It does take a while to clear the buffer, but 250 RAW images are around 6 GB of data. Even more impressive is the lack of any blackout while shooting in electronic mode. First, this is mechanical shutter blackout. Quite visible. Now look at the electronic shutter blackout, or actually the lack of it. Menu system is finally redesigned. Options have more logic in their placement and top tabs are color coded. It is not ideal, but is definitely an improvement. Quick menu has 12 customizable slots. All important connectors are here: micro USB, which also works for charging, micro HDMI, 3.5mm microphone input, 3.5mm headphones output, flash sync, and even the wired network connector, which will be important to small number of studio photographers. Sadly, USB is not 3.0 but operates only at 2.0 speed. There are two memory card slots. Slot number 1 supports UHS 2 cards, which are recommended to get the maximum buffer clearing time performance. Beside the 12 slots in the quick menu, 10 physical buttons can be customized with quite a lot of options. I was able to adjust the camera just the way I wanted to. Video record button is moved to much better place than it was on Alpha 7 series. Now it sits just beside the EVF. Joystick is finally here. For a lot of us this is the best way to select autofocus points. Other buttons are also a bit better with longer travel and better feedback. It is not perfect. I think video button and AF on are too close and they still have very short travel. Exposure compensation dial is quite firm. you won't move it by mistake. Mode, drive and autofocus dials all have security switches. As for image quality, there's not much to talk as it is excellent. Dynamic range is here and high ISO is impressive. For me, colors are still not ideal though, but I prefer the way Canon and Olympus render them. This is subjective. Sony and Nikon are a bit different in this regard and often give more yellowish tint than I would like it to. Video is recorded in 4K at 30p or in Full HD at 30 or 60p, and there is even 120 FPS slow motion. Various file formats and bitrates are available. Alpha 9 also has full manual controls and advanced options like peaking or zebra. I am a bit surprised there is no S-Log flat profile. I hope it is coming in some of the future updates. Videos look great. I am especially impressed by low light results where ISO 25600 looks extremely clean. And even ISO 51200 is perfectly usable. Impressive. Transition speed from LCD to EVF and back is among the best, but I still think Panasonic GH5 is a bit faster. Here are both of them, you be the judge. Spot metering can be linked to AF point and you can even change spot metering point size. Auto ISO control is perfect. You can choose upper and lower limits as well as shutter speed. Weather sealing appears to be quite good, at least for this brief period I used it. Light rain caused no problems for Alpha 9. Some early reviews reported this camera overheating and they also reported bending in the shadows. I haven't had problems with either of those. Okay, it's not summer anymore, but as far as I can see, this camera cannot overheat no matter what I did to it. Also, I haven't noticed bending or flickering in any of my images using electronic shutter under any light source that I tried so far. So what's my final judgment? I am properly impressed with the Alpha 9. This camera is on steroids and in terms of ergonomics and ease of use is probably the best Sony mirrorless so far. Image and video quality are impressive. Silent 20 FPS burst with huge buffer and no LCD or EVF blackout is an eye-opener. But it is not perfect. There are still issues with handling and various operational quirks. At this price point there shouldn't be any. Also, don't buy it if you don't have or don't plan buying native lenses. Only with native lenses full autofocus potential is revealed. Most of everything there is the issue of in-house competition. If you don't need 20 FPS burst, Alpha 7R Mark III is clearly better choice. It has the same battery, joystick, dual card slots and is even better in many regards including dynamic range, resolution, video specifications and is cheaper. So who is Alpha 9 for? I would say only sports and action photography professionals who benefit from silent 20 FPS burst and focused tracking. Ultimately, I think it would be best for you to rent or at least demo the camera in store before buying it and decide for yourself. This is a lot of money to dump onto something you might not like. So that's pretty much everything for this review. If you have a question, drop me a comment and subscribe to my channel, and if you want to support my channel you can do that on Patreon or by buying stuff on Amazon using my affiliate links below in the description of this video. You will not pay any more than otherwise, but I will get a small percentage from every purchase. Thanks for watching.